What are you looking at, fool? I'm looking at a guy who can't suppress the soul of a 16-year-old. He's 15. That makes it worse! Thank you to our $5 patrons, Red Wolf 4765, Midnight Gem Lord, and Sean. And a very big thank you to our $25 patron, Alex Ice Rose. Now, we have this breakdown / review of chapter 216 of Jujutsu Kaisen. Please remember to leave your own list in the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification bell to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You can support for as little as $1 download the videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as little as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the review. What's up, guys? I'm Pencil here, and here we are to review chapter 216 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as Bath. And golly gee willikers, fellas. Gay. How are you gonna take away one of my favorite characters just like that? You didn't even let him land one hit. You had him get blitzed and bisected like he was a fodder background character. What is Yuta supposed to do now? What is Hikari supposed to do now? What is even Kashimo supposed to do now? Everyone's gonna lose, gosh darn it. We can't even do nothing no more. Gay, do you plan to have the heroes win? How are we gonna win now? And he's gonna go blow Samuki's back out. And not in the way that I thought it was when I saw the spoilers. No, legitimately just annihilate her. Golly gee willikers, fellas, we are done. But let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into this review. So we'll open up, and we do get to see that Uro asks, are you gonna end the culling games? And Kenjaku, the goated, swaggerlicious man or woman, whatever happens, whatever he feels like usually, whatever he puts his brain in, says yes. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that for the whole review. Honestly, like sometimes I always talk to you guys about like how I change my voice all the time. I do it in common conversation too. If we ever do run into each other, like know that inevitably, if I'm telling you something, usually my voice will change just because I do it so often. But like when I get into a flow like that, I kind of like it. I separate myself from my real voice so fluidly that's just like, oh, that's normal. But enough of that, we do get to see that Uro and Kenjaku are currently talking about the state of the culling games and how Kenjaku is actually playing to end it. But if you remember, the original purpose of the culling games was kind of keep it going on forever, even though that was like an inherent impossibility. There are a limited number of sorcerers in a limited area where there even can be sorcerers. So the culling game was never necessarily a perpetual motion machine unless Kenjaku kept producing sorcerers from non-sorcerers, which he realistically could have done. I assume there's no limit on brain alteration. Sure, you get weaker and weaker sorcerers after a while, and strong sorcerers like Kashimo and Ryu would consistently just be like, they'd be stat padding unbelievably hard by just taking out random fodder. But still, the culling games was an ending game. However, ironically enough, we see that Kenjaku, despite creating this supposed never-ending game, he explains, my goal for the merger of mankind with Tengen cannot happen until the culling game ends, even though I told that failure of a son of mine otherwise. Interesting. But I assume that has to do with the barriers, right? Like, hypothetically, I assume once the culling game ends, all barriers will just, like, legit get shut down. Like, just like that. I don't think they'll be maintained anymore. And any hypothetical shielding that would be happening by those barriers, even if it's just purely accidental, would be entirely negated. That's why, like, the massive shadow that covered everybody else that wasn't in a barrier covered them. But it seems like the barriers inadvertently, probably as like a rule of the culling games, are unaffected by the massive shift or the start of the merger that is outside of them, which is why Kenjaku needs to shut down the barriers in order to have the culling game end. However, I wonder how he's going to do that. He said himself he's not the game master, and while he does admit that he lied to Choso here, I don't think he was lying about that. So I wonder if he's just going to have to run in and start soloing people to the point where he's the winner, and or if he can literally just boop, shut down the culling game. I don't know. I'm intrigued. However, we do get to see that Uro is like, you say that, but you're the one who designed it to go on and on and on like this in the first place. Which is interesting. Very interesting. Admittedly, like, if every single colony had a Kashimo, the culling game would not last that long. Like, I understand why Kenjaku did it in certain ways, because, like, with lower grade 1-tier sorcerers, no offense to people like Higuruma and Reggie, but they weren't, like, exactly calamities. But with like Kashimo and Ryu running around in their own respective colonies alone, not to talk of Uro, not to talk of Kuruushi, not to talk of any other extra cursed spirits that Kenjaku released that happen to be special grade, like they could have committed like mass massacres. Like legitimately, I think the culling game would have been a GG a couple days in if there weren't like specific checks and balances put in. Like, once again, I know it's not exactly implied. I think it's like lightly hinted at. It's just the fact, like, Angel didn't run from Kashimo because they were afraid. They ran from Kashimo because Kashimo was like slaughtering everybody, and thus there was no point in staying in that colony anymore. So there is that. But to the point where I'm wondering whether or not, if we were like, now is Kashimo and Hikari still in the same place, or are they running? Because like presumably they should know something's up. I mean, maybe not though. That's the thing. They may not know anything's up because they wouldn't have any way to tell. The rule being added to the culling game may be able to catch Hikari off guard because he sent the points. Maybe he'd be able to tell. But I'm not exactly sure. Yuta and Hikari both sent the points, but who would they specifically hunt down in that case? Would they head straight to Tokyo 1 or Tokyo 2? I forget which one it was. Would they head to Tokyo and be like, hey, what's happening here? We were talking about adding a rule with our points to Samuki, but that's not the rule we discussed. And or they're just like they're wondering why the other rule hasn't been added. I really wonder where those two are. Really the three. Because we know where Ryu is. Ryu's not here anymore. Why? I'll have my false outrage, because admittedly, I love Ryu, but he's gone. We gotta hype Sukuna up somehow. Even though we don't have to, now I think about it. We really don't have to hype up Sukuna anymore. Why did it have to be We'll get to it. However, we do get to see that Kenjaku straight up admits the only reason the culling game even appears that way, that it appears like this never-ending, ever-flowing system, is because of just how crazy it was and the binding vow he needed to institute in order to even allow it to exist. He says, the only reason I was able to create something as unreasonable as the culling game was because I shouldered the burden of the equally unreasonable binding vow to eventually end the never-ending game. Which is interesting. Very interesting. I'm still wondering how he's going to do that, because it feels like more complicated a task than just running up to a Kogane or like the master Kogane and being like, hey, you know what time it is, baby bug? Shut that bad boy down. Like, I think it's more complicated than that, especially considering he had to take a binding vow to do it, which presumes that he may have to do something like drastic, maybe sacrifice Geto's body or something like that. I don't know. I'm very intrigued to see where this goes. However, we do get to see that Uraume, knowing this, is now like, okay, then get on with it. Why did you even come here? What's the point? And we see that Kenjaku, once again, I love Kenjaku so much. Him and Sukuna have such a playful air to them as major antagonists. Like, realistically, from another point of view, these guys could be protagonists. Like, straight up, their charisma, their unique abilities, the exaggerated swagger of 1,000-year-old demons. Like, seriously, these guys are really, really funny. Like, aren't you gonna ask me how I plan to do it? Like seriously, Kenjaku, bro's been planning this for 1,000 years, and he's pretty much succeeded. Like, unless, like, the only reason I have any confidence that it's somehow going to fail is because we are running this in Shonen Jump. I'm not exactly sure Shonen would allow Gege to have an 100% dark ending. Chainsaw Man didn't have an 100% dark ending. A very dark ending, yes, but the villain didn't exactly solo the verse in Chainsaw Man. So I feel like somehow, despite what these chapters have been implying, somehow something's going to happen in a special fancy way. Maybe. I don't know. I'm still a little bit concerned though, because this really is like a GG. Once again, unless what I mentioned at the end of last chapter review happens, like Angel is still alive, they have RCT, and they still have the back of the prison realm, and then Kenjaku, who thinks everything's going good, just hears where's that brain man? I want his head. Like legitimately, unless Gojo pops out the box, I don't know how we're gonna take this dub. But that's the only thing. Other than that, I really don't see a win condition, especially after what happens this chapter. Because we see Kenjaku Ship admits when Urumi asks him why he's still here, I'm more interested in this bath right now, anyway. And we get a decent explanation of the bath. No, Sukuna is not just taking a deep soak after, spending thousands upon thousands of years as nasty old dirty fingers. Kenjaku explains that I knew it was originally used as a ritual to transform vessels treasured as family heirlooms into cursed tools in order to protect them from outsiders. A solution of curse energy is created by grinding and straining organisms chosen in a Kodoku ritual. The vessel is then marinated for 10 months and 10 days, so... Oh my. Interesting. Interesting. I wasn't expecting you to use cursed spirits to reconstruct this ritual. So, the more interesting thing to me is, right, the 10 months and the 10 days limit. Or at least the 10 months and 10 days idea. Urume seemingly produced this bath the same day? Like, how? How fast were they work? Like, unless they had the soup somewhere else for a while, I don't know. Sukuna didn't spend 10 months and 10 days in here. It's still the same year. Like, I don't know how this is supposed to work, but I guess it does explain as an alternate purpose. I wonder what cursed tools or vessels were made like this, though. Like, I wonder if there are any examples that we've seen. Like, is the original Soul Liberation Blade one? Is the Prison Realm one? Is the Inverted Spear of Heaven? I don't know why my brain fumbled so long. I'm assuming maybe the Black Whip was one. The Black Whip from JJK Zero that was wielded by Miguel. Maybe that was one, because that's something that was held in this family for generations. So maybe, I'm wondering. However, we do get to see that Urume explains that the reason they use cursed spirits to reconstruct this ritual is simple. When cursed spirits are slain, they become dust thanks to disappearance reaction. There are some exceptions, but a piece that is cut off will disappear in the same way. That's why my method has been to first carefully pin the spirit down, and then freeze its core with my technique before separating it. The remaining body parts are then finally minced and strained. And that's interesting. So the ritual was originally not done with cursed spirits, which makes sense, right? Urume explains that they usually disappear, but I wonder how they even discovered this method. Like, one, how does she know where to find the core of every single cursed spirit? I guess she just slices and dices them while keeping them barely alive. Like, yes, but that's still crazy. Two, how did she do this so quickly? Like, once again, I don't think it's been that long. Like, remember, just like maybe 4 or 5 chapters ago, we saw Urume and Kenjaku appear in the Zenin hideout and eat up, Ogi's body with one of Kenjaku's cursed spirits, and then Urume started preparing the bath. But seemingly enough, there are lots and lots and lots of cursed spirits there. Like, not just a couple, not just a little, like literally hundreds. I mean, presumably, now that I think about it, Kenjaku could have just provided them. He may just be asking that. Yeah, Kenjaku probably just provided them. He may just be asking now because he didn't necessarily get it at first, and watching Urume work is interesting. And once again, Urume is a character I'm very intrigued. So, like, are they in a new vessel? Have they been, like, consistently... Obviously, they've been working with Kenjaku for a while, but have they also been, like, reincarnating over and over and over again? Because presumably, they're still human. I don't think Urume is ever mentioned as specifically a curse. So I wonder what their existence is even like, serving the King of Curses. However, we do get to see that Kenjaku is like, okay, I get that. And I'll admit, it's smart to use cursed spirits because, they're literally composed of cursed energy. So using their solution, if any solution, would be the best one. But what's the point of submerging something in something like this? And Urume explains, to get closer to evil. If we do this, Megumi Fushiguro's sense of self, no, so that his very soul sinks much deeper into the darkness. Now, I did clown on Sukuna a little bit for this in the intro, but it is actually a bit wild to me that he can't suppress Megumi's soul. I get that Megumi's soul was strangely built, like, already. Like, it came out the clutch with the ability to flat out suppress him. That's something that Sukuna mentioned a few chapters back. But, like, now that his soul has been literally crushed, I'm shocked that Megumi's soul could even fight back. Like, Mahito, the literal incarnation of human hatred, used his technique that very specifically attacks souls on Itadori, when Itadori was fodder, and Sukuna, who had maybe, like, what, 1 or 2, or maybe I think at most 3 fingers at the time, wasn't even able to do anything. Like, straight up said, whoa, this guy's too strong, the embodiment of all hate. I get it, Mahito was very young at that point, relative to literally everything else. I think he was like a couple days old at that point, but still, you're telling me this 15-year-old who's been using cursed energy for about a decade has a better and stronger soul that needs to be suppressed further by the root of all evil? Like, Sukuna's soul isn't strong enough to just hard delete Megumi's? Like, especially a broken Megumi. Like, I get if it were full power Megumi who was, like, able to suppress him and be, like, a vessel that acts more as a cage like Itadori was. But, no, this is a vessel that's, very vesseling. But vesseling hard against still, which is very impressive. I wonder once again if it has to do with Toji. I wonder if Toji's biology really just jacked up Megumi in a way that we don't know. Like, sure, he obviously had inherited technique from Toji, which means the Zenin blood still does pump through him. But the fact that his soul is so weird and powerful still really fits into the fact of what Gege mentioned about Toji's soul, and like how if Kenjaku were to try and take Toji's body, the heavenly restriction would actually kind of mess with it, which is very interesting. However, we do get to see someone rises like an eagle out of the cursed spirit juices, and it's naked. It's naked. He's 15. Like, what are we counting, right? Like, are we doing it that it's Megumi's body, so the body's still 15? Are we doing it Sukuna's possessing it, so the body's like 1,000 years old or 1,000 plus? Are we like averaging the two out and the body's like, I don't know, 500 something? Are we adding the two together so it's like 1,015 plus? Like, I don't know, but this is booty meat on my screen. Why? But we do get to see that after Gege went out of his way to draw the crack, Urume has the bath and robe prepared, and we see that Kenjaku asks, "Oh, you are keeping your face like that?" And Sukuna says, "For now." Very interesting. So Sukuna could have changed his face. I wonder why. I wonder why he did. Well, notably, he says, like, if I'm going to keep fighting among sorcerers, it's better to maintain this kind of appearance. Why? Why would you not want to, like, restore your original form? I guess maybe he wants to wait till he gets the full 20 fingers. Speaking of which, where are the other 5 fingers? Like, at this point, does he even care? Is he going to look for him? Because the other thing is Megumi, seemingly fully suppressed. Notably, Megumi does not, at least later on in this chapter. But then again, Megumi doesn't know any of the people Sukuna's attacking, so it's highly unlikely that he would actually interfere like he did against Yuji and Maki. But still, I'm wondering why he's keeping his face, because he shouldn't care. He realistically should not care. But I guess, like, maybe breaking Megumi's own sister with Megumi's face would break Megumi more than if it was Sukuna's face. But wouldn't it be better? I mean, maybe he doesn't want to restore the body on the off chance that Megumi actually does break free, because then he would have 4 arms and he could summon, like, 2 shadows at once. I have real no idea. But we do get to see that Sukuna realizes something. He says, Kogane, where is Fujigoro Samuki? And interestingly enough, we focus in on Sukuna's hand, and there appears to be a cut on one of them. Oh no, where's that from? I have no idea where that's from. I must be missing something. There's a cut on his hand, which he seemingly can't heal off, which is weird. I wonder what that is. However, we do get to see that Samuki is currently in Sendai. They wasted absolutely no time in getting away. And we do get to see that Urume and Kenjaku explain, players are no longer confined to colonies. Didn't he send you an invitation to fight? And we see that Urume is like, okay, even if Yorozu did, why is he in Sendai? And that confirms that Samuki is possessed by a man. I mean, it's fine, but is that weird for either of them? Is Samuki still there? Is her soul even soul in it anymore? Like, she's been stuck like that for a while, like ever since the culling games began. Can we even save her, or is Megumi just gonna have to GG that woman? Or man, in woman, I don't know. I think that may just have to be a done deal. However, we do get to see that Kenjaku just is so disappointed in their lack of understanding of humanity, because he goes on to say, like, man, come on, you guys, it's simple. Yorozu is originally from Aizu, right? Isn't it natural for a human instinct to want to visit your hometown after finally being reincarnated for the first time in 1,000 years? Then afterwards you saunter over to the nearest colony. It's not that complicated. Seriously, guys, it's a no-brainer. And Sukuna's like, enough, I swear, you big brain fool. And Urume's like, how do you have the gall to run your mouth like that? But low-key, he is kind of spitting. Like, obviously, you want to run to your hometown, see what's changing. Especially after 1,000 years. Like, say, hypothetically, 1,000 years from now, I was revived. And, like, I still had regular context of where I lived. I would kind of want to see what it looked like a little bit. Like, a little bit. Like, like, maybe from the bottom of my heart, I would probably resurrect and be like, where's my home? And I'd go there and my home would probably be destroyed. Like, my home, unless it stays in my family. I hope it does. It would be nice how my childhood home stays in my family. But, like, presumably, unless it does that consistently for what? Maybe, like, 20-ish generations, assuming, going with the lowest, like, everyone lives 50 years. Then, I mean, in the year 3000, I wouldn't be shocked if my home was gone, but I would want to see it. But regardless of that, the interesting thing is, why is Sukuna letting Kenjaku do the things? Like, live. Like, he knows now that Kenjaku built Itadori to specifically contain him. Like, he knows that. Why, like, he even straight up says Kenjaku is gross. He weirds me out and he's disgusting. Like, why is he keeping him alive? I don't know. Like, I feel like Sukuna, there must be some secret motivation or some sort of binding vow those two have set up for this. Because there's no way in my mind, after putting Sukuna through the torture of, like, existing in a body where he did not have full control, that Kenjaku would be left breathing. There must be something that these two, or I can understand, Kenjaku doesn't even really care about Sukuna, though. He wasn't even, like, gonna let him free unless things didn't work out. So, I'm shocked Sukuna's letting Kenjaku slide. However, we do see that Kenjaku asks, so, are you going to fight him? You have to go out of your way to do it. And we see that Sukuna's like, and what about it? And Kenjaku's like, nothing. I just thought you wouldn't pay him any real attention. It's always been a one-sided crush from Yorozu, after all. And we see that Sukuna admits, I do not care about Yorozu. What I need is the vessel. 15-year-old Megumi produced... Actually, his voice is kind of deep in the anime, so it works. But interesting. So I misinterpreted in the spoilers. Follow me on TikTok if you haven't already. But I thought, Sukuna was trying to get up in there where he could fit up in there. But no, it is specifically Yorozu liking Sukuna. Interesting. And we do get to see that, yeah, Sukuna really cares about crushing Yorozu. And Kenjaku even realizes, I see. I get it now. Destroying Fushiguro Samuki will completely sink Megumi within you. And, Gege, were you feeling something this way? Like, first, you drew Maguna, closed list. Now you drew Samuki, closed list. Like, what are you? Is there something you want to tell us, dog? Are you sick and tired of working on a battle manga and you just want to leap to the other type of manga? Like, what are you doing here, dog? Can I even make that the thumbnail? I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know exactly what I'm going to do. However, with that being the case, no, I can't. The editing image is too good for... So I can't. I won't. Besides, it's not safe. I'm not even sure if I'll show this. Yeah, I probably will just show the head. I don't know. I'm thinking of editing and my fear. So I think I won't do it. But I had an idea. If you watch my Fortnite's reviews and you remember that one thumbnail where I also had to do something similar, you know what I'm talking about. However, we do get to see that Kenjaku says, fine, I'll even give you a ride there. But I want your points in exchange. Interesting. I wonder what he plans to do with them. However, we do get to see that in spite of what that one color image of many chapters back now at this point, I think it was pre-200s, showed us, Uro and Ryu are in fact still within Sendai and sort of just chilling, living their lives. Once again, standing on rooftops, supposedly. And Uro, and I really like this, I love how both of them react, and they both have slightly different reactions. We see Uro realizes who it is and starts having a panic attack. Like, straight up, her hair drops, she deactivates her sky technique, and she says, he's here, the king of curses. And Ryu, who never encountered Sukuna, is like, no, this feeling, this is way too sweet. Which is, intriguing, very intriguing. I wonder... I guess, once again, he wouldn't recognize the feeling. Though, it's interesting to see two powerful characters who are running up pretty equally with Yuta be, caught off guard by the King of Curses, who, once again, must I reiterate, is not at full power. He still has 5 fingers left to go. Now, there are two ideas on how the fingers work for Sukuna. 3. There's technically 3. Typical idea 1, each finger is a percentage of his power. There are 20 fingers, each one is a 5% amount of his power. Thusly, he's at 75% right now. Especially with Megumi suppressed now, he should have no reason to not have 75% of his power because he is at 15 fingers. 2, the fingers provide an exponential increase. And this would explain things like him getting absolutely dogged on by Gojo and then casually being able to manhandle other people of like either special grade or higher tier, such as he does in this very chapter at 15 finger. Like, the gap between 1 finger and 15 finger seems way more massive than just a 5% increase each time. Option number 3, they are not consistent. And like, oh well, no. Option number 3 is that the fingers don't actually do much for him power-wise, and he was always like just this powerful. It's just that they have different techniques hidden within them, and that's why he didn't pull out like separate techniques until he read into Maharaga, and he had 15 fingers, hypothetically 15 different techniques. And considering like the whole eating motif and him biting everybody, yeah, it could be that way too. One thing I will admit, this is a really saucy look for Megumi. I love the cloak he's wearing and the smile on his face. And we do get to see as he's walking through Sendai, he runs into Ryu Ishigori. And Ryu is sweating. My goat is... Why did you show up? Alright. Now we can get... Okay, I'll wait until it happens. But we see Ryu is sweating. The man with the highest curse energy output in all of history up against the king of curses. And he's even taller than Megumi. But then again, Megumi's 15. And we do get to see that Megumi straight up asks him, so, you gonna scram or not? And we do get to see that Ryu goes to do something. It looks like he goes to attack. But Megumi blitzes him. Like, straight up blitzes him. Like, straight up, as Ryu goes to hit him, it even seems like his fist is right about to glance against Megumi's face. He gets slashed right on the chest. He doesn't get one shot immediately. And seemingly enough, this was a dismantle rather than a cleave, because I think his palm is closed here. But we see that Megumi's actually impressed. I'm impressed. I tried to fillet you into 3, but you turned out to be better than I expected. My apologies. Took you too lightly. I won't hold back on the next one. And we do get to see that Ryu, still sweating, instead of running away like a smart human being after he got blitzed, Ryu charges up a granite blast and gets trisected through the dome. So there's no way he's got... Like, unless Yuta appeared 5 seconds after this encounter and slammed his hand into Ishigori's face to heal him up, Ryu's gone. Now, don't get me wrong. Does this make sense? Yes. Yes, it does. Like, arguably, even with Ryu's statement of having the highest output ever, which would include 20-finger Sukuna, 20-finger Sukuna had output, I do believe that Sukuna's techniques sort of have like a Duranag property to them, and once again, Ryu has the highest output. That doesn't mean he has the highest reinforcement, and thusly, he could just get done, son, by something like Sukuna's techniques, which attack not only like a very narrow area, so his cursed energy couldn't be reinforced that well within that area, and top that off with the fact that we know he just doesn't have boundless cursed energy like Yuta or Rika, and or infinite cursed energy like Hikari in Jackpot. Yeah, Ryu getting GG'd like this, especially when he doesn't fully understand what's happening, makes sense. Once again, this guy never encountered Sukuna. Notably, he doesn't even mention Sukuna in his entire interaction with Yuta, and notably only get him for like a solid 10 chapters or so, but still, that's it. So, Ryu, I love you, man. You got your own cover, but you just ran into the wrong one. Do I wish it was someone else? Yeah, I definitely did want to see Ryu actually, like, join the great JJK Jump Fest that I assume is going to happen by the end of the series, especially considering it seemed built up like him and Uro were actually going to be allies to Yuta in the future and all the stuff like that, but Gege had to job somebody, and you know, having the King of Curses, when not even at full power, job the guy with the highest curse energy output in history. Pretty W jobbing, I won't even lie. But this, once again, kind of makes me wonder, like, how we win now. Unless, like, it literally has to be Gojo now, right? Like, we can't do anything. Because notably, whether or not you believe that Yuta was going realistically all out against Ishigori, he did not no-diff him like Sukuna just no-diffed him. That's it. Like, this was literally a negative diff fight. Sukuna took no damage, proceeded to blitz him twice before Ryu could land one hit. Yuta was getting knocked around by Ryu. Abused. Body bagged, if you will. He only beat Ryu because Ryu got hit with his own attacks twice. And Rika was also boxing Ryu head-to-head for like a good 3 minutes or so while he was taking on Uro. There are different levels to this in terms of difficulty. What is Yuta supposed to do? Legitimately, what is Kashimo supposed to do? If Ryu supposedly does have the highest output out of everyone in the culling games, which should have included Sukuna, but obviously doesn't, and Ryu is relative to Yuta, who should at least be somewhat relative to Hikari, and Kashimo was, you know, not necessarily so. Ironically enough, go reread the Hikari versus Kashimo fight, and Akari kind of didn't do much, at least in terms of like doing overall damage. Kashimo was kind of bodying that man. But still, even with Kashimo kind of bodying that man, what is Kashimo really meant to do? Like his Thunder God technique, or whatever technique he has, better like multiply his stats by 1,000,000 or something. Because I don't see if Ryu couldn't land a single blow against Maguna, who was joking around and being fun and casual here, not even seriously taking Ryu as a threat at this point. What is Kashimo really going to do? Is he really going to be able to land charges or anything like that? I don't know. Shoot, if Maguna is now doing this unrestricted, what is he going to do against Itadori and Maki when they show up again? If he's really has full control and they don't have the ability to suppress him anymore with Megumi's help, like it's implied here, then they get one shot. Like, what do we do now? I legit don't know, unless Gojo Satoru pops out that box and or Angel pops out and actually does the darn thing this time. If Angel can pop out and do the darn thing alongside Gojo, I think we have a chance. Or if Itadori gets Angel. I don't like taking Hana out of the narrative that quickly. I think it would be interesting to see her be a big factor in saving Megumi, if Megumi gets saved at all. But if we were to give Yuji Angel to kind of have him be the guiding light to save everybody, as, you know, MC, I'd be down with that. I think this is the only way. Because once again, Sukuna's running out here casually one-shotting the guy with the highest output in all of history, who was giving Yuta a really good fight and only lost because he was hit with his own highest output attacks. I just don't know where we're going here now. Akari, you better come here pre-prepared. You better do just like you did against Kashimo and come in with jackpots ready. You must not pull up on this man and try to domain him, because he will legit do this to you. Golly gee willikers, fellow, we are in a rough spot. However, we do get to see that in a stadium, someone walks out. Seems you've taken over a different kid this time. And Maguna says, yeah, I like this face much better. And it's an encounter after 1,000 years. If Yorozu puts up a better fight than Ryu, I'm gonna cry. I get it, probably would, and who knows? We don't know how deeply Megumi is suppressed, so Megumi probably wouldn't want to attack his sister's body, even if he knows the truth now. This event was the one that broke him in the first place, for Sukuna to possess him, so it makes sense. But man, I'm still sad that Ryu's gone. Shouts to Uro, though. She knew not to pull up. Like, I will give Uro 100% credit. She knew she was not her and ran. That's my girl. Solid chapter. Very, very solid chapter. One, I like seeing this trio. It's such a strange trio. But Uro-ume, Maguna, and Kenjaku is such a really interesting trio. I really like it. This chapter, once again, just reestablishes Kenjaku as probably... Him and Arthur from Four Knights are kind of fighting as my favorite new gen antagonist for different reasons. Like, Arthur has a whole series of build-up behind him. Kenjaku has only really been established as Kenjaku for about 100 chapters or so. So, like, technically, Arthur has a much more massive lead, but still, like, these two villains are the only two that are, like, really up there for my favorites, just because of their personalities, how they interact, their unique abilities, all the stuff like that. So seeing Kenjaku, a really good villain, also interact with two other really good villains, like Uro-ume and Sukuna, really, really cool. Even though I'm sad he just showed up to get one shot and jobbed, I'm very happy to see Ryu again. He is... Him and Kashimo, once again, I'll make that ranking video eventually. I literally meant to make that ranking video as soon as we got to this new arc, but I was so torn on who I like more. But Kashimo and Ryu are probably two of my favorite additions to the the JJK cast so far, especially from the Culling games in particular. So even though he showed up to die, you know, I'm happy that we got to see him once again. Seeing Uro hype up Sukuna even more, I like that. Seeing Maguna really be about that life, really, really like that. Do really hope, though, we get to see him use some different techniques. I get it, cleave and dismantle are cool, but we've seen those a lot. We know he has other techniques now. Let him pull out the flames, let him pull out the unmastered Shikigami that Megumi has. Let him tame Mahoraga in front of us. Like, let's see him actually do stuff other than just his basic cleave and dismantle. I get it, it's his main technique, but it is kind of getting a little bit old. I ain't gonna lie to you. So I would like to see some more stuff, but overall, still a easy 10 out of 10 chapter. It has everything I love about JJK and more. I'm very excited to see what happens next week with the arrival of the King of Curses, the man who loved him one way. However, that's what I think. Please, what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure the notification bell to miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, do have a picture down below. Use more as low as $1 a month. And likes, videos, early content, and more. You guys now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Is that the pencil? Writing off.